Avi Meyers here, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. It is a gloriously beautiful day at the Jewish Folk Arts Festival. They were predicting 50s and rain, then it became 60s. Now it's maybe close to 70, somewhat sunny, and of course it's always a sunny day when we're able to talk to the four-term congressman. Four-term, is that correct?
Not fourth, yes.
Okay, and soon to be five, depending on the massive Republican opposition, of the 9th Congressional District of the state of Illinois, Jan Schakowsky. How are you, Congressman?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you. It's great to be here.
First of all, it's my pleasure, and thank you very much. We're glad you're here. You know, it's interesting. I probably see your name more in the Tribune than anywhere else. It seems like they have more interest in you than anybody else, and you're about as distinctly different politically as they are. And like for instance, I was reading a story the other day. They were talking about the new fines from the FCC for broadcasters, and they point out two people in the whole country that voted against it. There were more than that, and they point out you and a congressman from Ohio.
There were actually 39 of us who voted against the so-called indecency bill. This is legislation that sprang from the frenzy after the wardrobe malfunction of Janet Jackson, which is actually faded from most people's memory, I think.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's where it all started. And when it came up in my committee, Energy and Commerce actually deals with those issues. I said that as the grandmother.
Is that the Energy, the entertainer? Or?
No, telecom is under the Energy and Commerce Committee. So I said that as a grandmother of 4, while I'm concerned about content on television, I actually am more concerned about the First Amendment than my grandchildren seeing Janet Jackson's nipple. And then I turned around and I said, Mr. Chairman, am I allowed to say that word here in committee? Is that still legal to do that? But really, I mean, this excitement over, we have laws in place to deal with content and to levy up to $325,000 fines for one incident of what the current FCC determines to be indecent. I think that's Big Brother at work.
Well, I don't disagree with you. And as a matter of fact, having seen the FCC and been reading about, especially their former chairman, I'm not familiar with the newer one. Big Brother's like a really good word sometimes for what I think is coming out of there. But that's just my personal opinion. You're the congressman whose opinion counts.
Thank you.
Now, you know what? As long as we're talking about bills, there was one other bill, and this is really dating things back. But this is more out of curiosity, and we'll talk more about the district. There was a bill that passed that maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, the new bankruptcy bill. And I was really surprised that the large amount of people, now I don't really know too much about the subject, thank God, but, okay, the Democrats really went along with the Republicans on this one, and it seemed to me that was something that very much favored things like maybe credit card companies or hospitals and all that.
This was legislation actually written by and for the credit card companies who want to put themselves nearly first in line in order to get money from creditors. It makes it harder for people to apply for bankruptcy. And let's remember why most individuals go bankrupt. More than 50% of personal bankruptcies are due to health care costs in this country, people not being able to pay those hospital bills. And so it seems to me that the interests of the credit card companies should not supersede the interests of average consumers. This was a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. People are not rushing to scam the system and file for bankruptcy. There's a lot of negative consequences to filing for bankruptcy. And let's remember, too, the credit card companies, I don't know how many offers for credit cards you get every week. Tons. You know, your dog, if you have one, could probably get a credit card in this country.
People have done that, as a matter of fact. People have just...
I know. I know. And so what I'm saying is that college students and people who can ill afford having a credit card are encouraged to take them out, and then it's very hard for them if they get into trouble. It's harder than ever now for them to file for bankruptcy. I think that's wrong.
So I take it that's not a bill that you were in favor of?
I was very much against it, and I think it really hurt a lot of regular people.
I think so, too, as a matter of fact. I have one friend in particular I'm thinking of along those lines, and the way they talk about it, you know, I don't have the details in front of me, it's just something that came to my mind, but if you make below average money, you're stuck. Also, I mean,
a lot of people can get caught up in this legislation, and it's bad enough if you're in a financially disastrous situation. But now to have credit card companies come before child support, for instance, I think is absolutely shameful.
Really, that's part of the bill?
Right.
Wow, that's really disgusting.
Right.
Well, one of the things we talked about usually when you're on is healthcare, because it's my one real socialist stand in life. Thank you. Sonny Hersh, by the way, cameraman, is, well, if I should have something in my ear saying, get closer, dummy, but anyway, my question for you, now, national health care, there was recently a study that came out that Canadians are 40% less likely to have diabetes than we are, 30% less likely to be obese, and a lot of the attribution was because they have a national health care system.
And that followed on the heels of a study that showed how in Great Britain that they're healthier than we are as well. Actually, the United States ranks about 47th in health care outcomes among countries in the world, and yet we spend far more than any other nation on health care. This is a system or non-system that is seriously broken. We aren't able to provide preventive care to people. Many people, even with insurance, simply don't have access to the specialists they need or the health care providers that they need. If you've been to a hospital lately, there aren't very many nurses, unfortunately, to take care of you in the hospital. This is a broken health care system. It needs fixing. I think it's time for us to join the rest of the industrialized world and say we're going to provide a national health care system, national health insurance system. Pick your doctor, let your doctor send you to the hospital, but in terms of financing, we need to get rid of these multitudes of insurance companies that want to tell you why you can't get the health care you need, have all this money in overhead and in paperwork and in billing departments at the hospitals, and just have a national financing system for health care, like a Medicare for all, but an expanded Medicare.
I think so. I know myself that when my mom was sick or other relatives, the insurance companies are basically telling the doctors what they can do and what they can't do.
That's the doctors have insurance companies over their shoulder telling them, even when the doctor views it as medically necessary to prescribe a procedure or even to prescribe a particular medication, insurance companies are saying, we're going to know better. The bean counters are telling the doctors what they can do. It's not right.
I agree, very much so. Now, you've got meetings afterwards. We've got to get Sonny home to take his mom to the airport.
Okay.
But you know what? There's a couple things. First of all, we're a Jewish folk festival, so
right.
I'll use that as an excuse. What's Jewish? Okay, you're Jewish. I'm Jewish. Sonny's Jewish. Okay, this isn't a Jewish show, but let's talk about Jewish stuff. I mean, what agenda-wise in Congress, you represent one of the largest Jewish area. It's not exclusively Jewish, obviously, but the largest area of Jewish people in the state of Illinois by far.
Well, of course, in addition to the number one issue, which is the U.S.-Israel relationship, and I have to tell you, Avi, and to your Jewish viewers in particular, there is no way a person can really run for national office any longer who is not fully supportive of bolstering that relationship with the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel. And so I feel very good about the strength of the support of the state of Israel. Many of us, in addition, and as part of that support for Israel, are looking and working toward a peaceful solution in the Middle East. But number one, our ally in the Middle East is Israel. But beyond that, we're interested in issues of anti-Semitism, separation of church and state, which is a very big issue right now, and moving a social agenda. You know, I know the Jewish Federation is here, and we're trying to serve the poor, not just the Jewish poor, and make sure that the safety net in the United States of America is intact, and it's quite shredded right now. So the Jewish agenda is fairly broad, with Israel at the top, and we have a good deal of support, particularly for the Israel agenda in the Congress in a bipartisan way.
No, there's no question about it. You've been very good along those lines. I do keep track for Jewish Chicago, which I do in my spare time, and also you were very good. I don't get you on the air too much anymore, but you know, after the shootings on that July 4th weekend, you were all over the area trying to help out. So there's no question you've been standing up very nicely on those issues. Neighborhood, well, there's a lot of neighborhoods. Basically, your district starts like near north, and well, tell us.
Well, the district is about half city, half suburban. So we've got the number of the neighborhoods: Uptown, Lakeview, Edgewater, in Rogers Park, of course, the Northwest Side in Chicago, plus West Rogers Park, where I grew up, Evanston, Skokie, actually from the lake all the way out to Des Plaines. my district as well. Mm-hmm.
And how far north?
A little piece, about half of Wilmette is in the district. Otherwise, it's the line of the north side of Evanston, straight out west, almost to the airport.
Now, that's a very varying issue, very varying district. Are there specific, are there like a million different neighborhoods looking for a million different things from you all the time? Or?
Well, there's certainly, we solicit input from all the mayors in the district on what they need for their communities in the ways, in the way of transportation funding, capital improvements, that kind of thing, and spend a lot of time trying to match them with some federal dollars that may be available and that we can bring home to the district. But I have to tell you, there's a lot of seniors right now who are calling us very upset about the Medicare Part D prescription drug program, very confused about it. Even those who finally did make a decision are worried about whether they made the right choice to get their prescription drugs, concerned that they're still not going to be able to afford the drugs they need. And this is also a district where I hear from a lot of people about the war in Iraq, where they're very concerned, one, that we're spending about $11 million an hour in Iraq, and that much of that money could be better spent at home and to make us more secure and for lots of needs that people have. They're concerned about the 2,500 plus young men and women, and they're concerned about where is this going? What are we doing in Iraq right now?
Let me ask you, since you've become how much has your life changed? I mean, just that always makes me curious. Okay, now it's not like you weren't in the public eye before. You were state rep. Okay, a state senator also, or
no? I was a state representative for 8 years.
How does life change when you go to Congress?
Well, I think the fact that we're dealing with the really big issues of not just our country, but after all, as the really only existing superpower in the world, what we do affects the rest of the world. So it's really a privilege to be one of 435 members of the House of Representatives, 535 Americans who get to weigh in on those decisions. I take that responsibility very strongly, and we spend a lot more time on the job. You know, the state legislature adjourns in the late spring, and Congress essentially is a year-round job. Not that with the bitter partisanship that's going on right now that we're getting much done. We're in session less days than the do-nothing Congress of 1948. This is do less than the do-nothing Congress right now.
As a matter of fact, the one thing I've been urging people to do, and I don't know if you're in a position to do it, but on the air, and Sonny will tell you, we've been trying to urge somebody to make an introduction between Dr. Kevorkian and George Bush, but that's a whole different story.
No, that's another story. But the Republican leadership right now, and who dominate the House and the Senate and the White House and the Supreme Court I believe, are leading, and my district strongly agrees, leading our country in the wrong direction. When you ask people, is the United States of America going in the right direction? The vast majority of Americans right now say no. They feel a great sense of unease domestically and internationally about the leadership that's being exerted, and I feel that in Washington every day.
It's funny because I've always felt that in some ways the country's better when it's a ping-pong ball. A little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, back and forth. But when the right is so incompetent as it's been the last few years, it's just unbelievable.
I mean, take a look at Katrina. There was just a special this morning on CNN about Katrina. It's just shocking, and I've been there fairly recently. And to tell you the truth, Avi, it looks like the water just receded in many places. So little is really happening, and this is the destruction of the lives of over 100,000 people. It's just so sad. It's just heartbreaking.
No, it really is, and there's a lot. I mean, I'm not going to get into specifics of planning, but it's very. Thank you, Sonny. It's very disheartening to me that when money is going into something and you would think some effort, but it's not really helping.
There's so many places where we need to straighten out our priorities. There's a mood for change in the country right now, and I think it's very important to have balanced government, to have some checks and balances in in government, and so I'm hopeful that the leadership will change in the House of Representatives, that the Democrats will be in the majority, not just because of a Democratic-Republican thing, but because then we'll be able to have some real give and take, some real debate in the Congress.
Do you think there's a real chance for the Democrats to take over in the fall election?
I'm cautiously optimistic that will happen. We got to make sure that the elections are handled accurately and legally, and no votes are stolen. It's one thing we've really got to watch for.
Well, good luck, and they're going to be watching you guys too. Well, not you specifically, but it's a two-way street that way.
Right.
Any favorites so far? Is there anybody you're looking at for president right now?
I'm focusing entirely on 2006. The election is in really not very many months from now, weeks from now, and so that's really my main focus. If the Democrats do take back the House or Senate, I think it opens up a lot of space for the Democrats in the 2008 election.
Okay, now that you're getting seniority, if it became a Democratic House, would you have a chairmanship?
Well, I hope that I'll be able to be chairman of the subcommittee on which I'm a ranking Democrat right now, and that's Commerce, Trade, and Consumer Protection Subcommittee, and consumer protection really has been. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, for people who don't realize, the congressman became famous or congresswoman became famous. She's the person responsible for the labels on your milk carton.
Well, it's the dates on food. That was a campaign as a very young housewife in the late 60s, really, to get dates on food. Now they're there.
No, and it's a very good thing.
Thank you, Avi.
Thank you. And anyway, we want to thank very much the Congresswoman of the 9th District, Jan Schakowsky. People want to contact your office.
If you want to contact the office, 773-506-7100.
And I want to thank Rachel, who's here, and I want to thank Leslie very much, who's usually the person I talk to. And thanks, everybody, for joining, and thanks, Sonny, my entire technical crew.
Great. Thanks a lot, Avi.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.